good news. I've seen the trend of things, and although in the world around us it may seem awful, I see a thing that I think is happening. There's a push for men and women to go back to each other. And what happened, it's like a push and pull. Women were like, you know what? We don't need men. And then a lot of opportunities were opened up to them, and there was a lot of propagandizing and encouragement for women to go out and get theirs, and there was a lot of admonishing men and destroy the patriarchy, and men stand down and stay back. But as the world becomes more perilous and the cost of living increases, women are like, wow, I have everything, if they have anything at all, and they wish they had a man. And now the men are like, well, we knew that we didn't need a woman, but a woman used to be an asset to a man, and now they're a liability. And I think it's, you know, the state of the world being not so good, I think is kind of going to push men and women back together. And it's a good thing. But, you know, unfortunately, the damage of social engineering has been done because they told the woman that they didn't need men, and now they can't have kids because they wanted to get those numbers down. But people still, I think, will pair up. And so what generation would that have been? Like late millennials and Zoomers or whatever, that were like, women don't need men. But the truth of it is that men don't need women. But this is the part where I want to take it back to the Garden of Eden, because it's a story for all of us. And even if you don't believe the Bible, just hear the story of what's being given with the story of the Bible and how it relates to today. And I don't even know what day you're watching this. So Adam was in the garden, and there was a tree of forbidden knowledge of good and evil, and he didn't touch it because God told him not to. And Adam was on his own, and he was naming everything and walking with God and you know, in paradise. But something wasn't right. And then God saw Adam, and he said, "What's up, Adam?" And then Adam said, I don't know, something, I don't know. So God took a rib from Adam, which helps understand the order of things, which we'll get to. And he formed Eve. And then Adam saw Eve, and that's what was missing. Men and women literally made for each other, but the man was made to leave because, you know, we have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. None of those three is the Earth Mother Goddess Gaia or Lilith or any of that nonsense. Okay? So, Adam had everything. He obeyed. He didn't eat the forbidden fruit. But then Eve was there, and Adam showed Eve around because he was there first. So he was showing everything to Eve, which has something to do with why men place such a high premium on virginity. We don't want you learn. I'm talking to women now that aren't watching this. Men don't want women to know all this stuff when they get together. That's the premium on virginity. The guy wants to teach his woman those things. And men don't necessarily need a woman, but women do kind of need a man, and the proof of that is because everything was opened up in society so that women could excel, and then there's the propaganda of like, well, women, you know, women don't need a man. I've even had it said to me, I was talking about relationship stuff like years ago, probably like in 2016 when that Ghostbusters movie came out. Hey, you like Ghostbusters? Guys do, girls don't. We're going to make Ghostbusters for girls. Cool, maybe we'll like it. And then the girls didn't care about it, and the guys felt insulted. And that's what you got from 2016 onward, never stopped. In Star Wars and all the movies, it was just telling men that they were superfluous appendages, like Finn in Star Wars and Indiana Jones getting punched in the face by his goddaughter. It wasn't even related to her. It's just nonsense. So you destroy the men, destroy the patriarchy and all that stuff. And now's the come down. It's getting harder for everybody. And even the women that have, you know, all the things, she has the job, she has the house, she went to college, the corporate job, or whatever's left of that stuff. And even those women, which isn't most women, even those women are like, yeah, there's something missing. And it goes back to the Garden of Eden. It's a man. Or if you're a lesbian, then you're probably getting abused, because it's interesting that the domestic abuse cases, now that we've opened, the world to accepting LGBT, which was already accepted before people complained about it, and we find out that the highest rates of spousal abuse come from two women living with each other. And it makes me think of that old colloquialism, nobody hates women more than other women. It's true. Especially if and then what's the other joke they always make about women that are in love with each other? They move in by the third date. That's when they go to IKEA and are shopping for furniture, because they move in. So women want to pair up. That is the joke about it. So women meet somebody and they want to pair up right away. So it's probably holds true for women with a man as well. I've had relationships like that where we met, we fornicated, we had sex right away, and then we were like ready to move in together. So maybe I'm more like a lesbian. But now that women have all the things, they're like, well, what's missing? It's a man. So back to the Garden of Eden. So men are okay without a woman, but it'd be way better with them, because it's like Adam. It's like, yeah, I'm okay, but something's missing. It's her. So Adam and Eve are in the garden together. They have each other, and then Eve looks at the tree, and then the serpent says, well, you got everything here, don't you? And she's like, yeah, it's great. And he said, but something's missing, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know what it is. Well, there's one thing that you don't have. Adam's kind of in charge. He was here first. He showed you everything. But that tree over there, he doesn't have that. So Eve went to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and had a bite of it, which is like a figurative thing. She had the forbidden knowledge because it was the one thing that she could like have over Adam. And then now we call that Eve taking of that forbidden knowledge, we now call Adam's sin. Why do we call that Adam's sin and not Eve's sin? Well, I mean, some people call it Eve's sin, but when it's referred to in the Bible, it's not referred to as Eve's sin. It's always referred to as Adam's sin, because he was here first. He was supposed to be in charge, and when she had that forbidden knowledge, he didn't say, "Dad, Eve did the one thing that you told us not to do." But probably he was right next to her. So she's like, I'm going to go over there and do the thing. He's like, maybe better not do that. And then she had the forbidden knowledge. And then she's like, here, have this. And then he took he's like, okay. And now they're both in trouble. So it's Adam's sin, because Eve was never supposed to be in charge. There's an order to things. The husband is the head of his wife. It's biblical. It's from the top. It's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And all three of those are dudes. And also, Adam was in the garden by himself, and he was doing okay, even though something was missing, and it was his mate. So, I'm not just saying like that a woman is a companion piece to a man. That's not I don't think that's how God would do it, and I don't believe that. But there is an order to things, and the women could go out there and have everything, but it's just not enough. So what do they want? The one thing that they can't have. Well, I have all this stuff. I have the house, I have the job, I don't have kids, or I do have kids. Now I want the man. Yeah, like, it used to be that a man and a woman would get together and build a life. They both have nothing. And then, if you meet young, and they both have nothing, and you build a lifetime together. But what's happened is the divide and conquer strategy done by the wealthy elite whose fortunes shape the fates of nations, and their class of 6,000 or so social engineers, and all this plotting and planning to get those numbers down so that there would be less people. We've been propagandized too that men and women didn't need each other, so that we wouldn't start family and have kids, because if you want to control people and mold them and shape them however you want, to treat people as playing pieces on a board and treating our lives like a game, what you do is you divide and conquer, and you tell what men and women they don't need each other. So what did they do? They told men that they weren't good enough and shit on them, and the men were like, we have to bear the burdens of everything, and we go to war. And the women are like, well, we could do that too, and we could be police officers, and we can do all the things that you do. Okay. And then you have all that stuff, and then what's missing? Just like the Garden of Eden. If Eve had been here first, which she wasn't, they say, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Adam. So it's the order of things. And you know this from life, that if the woman doesn't respect the man, it won't work. So the man has to be able to leave. And now the women are coming around saying, well, where's the men that lead, that do all the things? They've always been there, but you spent like a decade now, or maybe a little bit more, just telling them, just dressing them down, being propagandized too that they weren't needed. And the whole point was so that you wouldn't have kids. And now you want to have kids and you're too old. Not everybody, but you can see what they did, which would have been to like late millennials and Zoomers, right? And everybody else in the world to fall in line like, hey, you've been married for a long time, maybe you should get divorced, you can do better. So they told women whatever you had wasn't enough, whether they built something with someone, like whether they had a mate and they built a lifetime together, they're like, you know what, it could be better, you could do better. And the men, they're terrible, they're toxic males. So Adam was in the garden by himself and he wasn't influenced to have that forbidden knowledge. But Eve was influenced to have that forbidden knowledge, and it got them both booted out of the Garden of Eden. So this is what women have done to themselves. They said, I can do better. And we know how women make decisions. They can't make up their minds. They make all the dating apps and the websites focused on women, so because they can't make up their minds. It was one of the biggest complaints of my family when we were growing up. My dad would just say, make up your mind. So then he would decide. Well, this is what I hear over and over again from women, well, not lately, but I remember hearing it over and over again when I'd watch compilations of women complaining. And they're like, I want a man who can just make decisions and blah, 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 but he has to know what it is that she wants. And I feel like I don't want to, there's too many, I want to stay focused on main things. There's so much stuff I could talk about dynamics between men and women. But one of the things that women say they don't like, one of the things women say about the kind of guy they don't like is, if you're going to take me out on a date, then don't ask me what I want to do. Don't keep asking me, are you okay, and all this stuff. Just lead. In essence, to cut it short, women are like, I just want a guy who can lead. He doesn't have to be the leader of all the other men or alpha male. Just somebody that doesn't leave all the decisions on me, because women can't make up their minds. And the proof of that is keep, swiping and all this stuff. A guy doesn't even care if the woman has a job. Just, what does she look like? Is she attractive enough? And she doesn't have to be gorgeous. It's just like, can I trust this woman? And women are asked, can you trust the man? And the lie answer that they've been given or propagandized to give is, do you trust the man in the woods or a bear? And the women are like, I'll trust the bear. Nobody believes that. They just want to shit on men. So there's been like a decade or so more of just trashing men, and then the men are okay on their own, even though they're not, like there's something missing, it's the woman. But now the women are coming around to like, yeah, this is nonsense. And not everybody drank the Kool-Aid. Not everybody took the bait of like, yeah, women are terrible. But when you get hammered with propaganda, it does kind of make you look crooked wherever you go. So what I'm saying is, to take it back to the Garden of Eden, is it was suggested to Eve by the serpent that that having everything wasn't good enough. Maybe you want something more. And she said yes. And that's the same bait that women have taken. They're propagandized too, in crazy ways, like through every social media platform and every major blockbuster movie. They literally ruined the genre of the romantic comedy, which was for women, and then guys would say, another chick flick, and maybe they didn't like them, but maybe part of the, guys are kind of like a chick flick, but you're not supposed to say that you like them or whatever. So you see your girlfriend's romantic comedies, and they destroyed that genre. You know, they like, I remember when the romantic comedy started getting weird where the people didn't wind up with each other. Remember bullshit like 500 Days of Summer? That's one of those movies where they're like, oh, they're gonna get together and it's nice, and like, that's not always how it works out. And then every movie that was a rom-com was some kind of like, the people you wanted to get together, they wouldn't be together. There was that one, The Breakup, where they had every woman's favorite, if you're white, every woman, Jennifer Aniston, and then she was with, I don't know, whoever the guy was in that movie, and you thought they would get together at the end, but then they don't. It was Ben Affleck or something. And that became the trend of things. So Adam was by himself, and whether he got propagandized to or not, that's not part of the story. The point is that Eve was propagandized to. Maybe you want to try the thing, and you're like, hey, you have everything. What could be better than that? Yeah, I know, it's pretty great. Well, maybe you want to have the one thing that you don't have. Yeah, but we'll get in trouble for that. Just do it anyway. And now, you know, you see what I mean? That's what happened. So what's the divide and conquer strategy? It's the same one from the Garden of Eden, right from the first. Adam was there. He was okay on his own. He could do it. But something was missing. And then Eve showed up and said, yeah, no, I have everything, but somehow it's just not enough. That's what happened. And the come down is that men, since men are supposed to lead anyway, maybe now there's a chance for people to pair up, even though it sucks because a lot of people's lives were ruined. All that time that you could, dividing and conquering people means if they're not together, then they can't build a lifetime with each other. So a lot of people become bitter, and they get, you know, they get older into their 30s and 40s. They have this whole thing about women hitting the wall, and that there's like, you know, like women might as, it's bullshit, but they say that, oh, once the woman's 26, that she's no good and doesn't have value, which is just lies. So, you know, there's stuff that men were propagandized too, but mostly it was just like the admonishing and dressing down and destroy the patriarchy and saying how men are evil and toxic. Remember that BAALSH IT commercial where it was Gillette, and there's the one guy who sees the girl and she turns his head, and then he goes after her, and then the black guy says, no, hold on, man, don't do that. They literally had for men shaving razors for their face saying, men stand down. If you see a girl, stay away because it's wrong. Now I'm hearing the opposite. Women are like, how come men don't approach us anymore? Because you took the forbidden fruit again. And the forbidden fruit this time around was that you don't need a man. And now there are some women who have everything you could want, but they don't have the man, and now they need that. And because something's missing, and there's no replacement for a man. Just like men already knew that there's really no replacement for a good woman that you could trust. But now they don't trust each other. And a woman used to be an asset to a man, now she's a liability. And, you know, the man used to be like, I guess you could, I don't want to say asset, but maybe it was a bad choice of words. But they need each other. We're literally made for each other. It's how we get here. And granted, not everybody that falls in love is going to have kids. But the point is, they just kept us apart from each other so that we wouldn't build lifetimes together. And that keeps people divided and conquered. And, you know, when you have two people together, they pool resources. Now people are divided and conquered, and the younger generation is having a hard time making a go of it. It'd be easier if people could get together, and that may be the silver lining, if there even is one. I'd say it would be that making the world harder for people to survive kind of pushes them closer together, and the hate kind of goes away because it's awful lonely with nothing and hard to get by. And not all these women are girl bosses. I would say the majority of women are not girl bosses. And also, it's not every woman is OnlyFans. And even if there are a large percentage of OnlyFans, which there isn't, it's just there's more women showing their naked bodies than ever before because of the phone and vanity and stuff. But we know the numbers for OnlyFans. They don't even make $150 a month. it's not, it's, you know what I mean? Like, not all women are, I'll just start an OnlyFans. That's a minority of women. The majority of women aren't hot enough to go start an OnlyFans. And I know there are women that wouldn't be defined as classically attractive doing OnlyFans. Excuse me. But they're out there, and they're not making money. Even a lot of girls that are pretty aren't making money on OnlyFans. If you find out who somebody's handle is, you can still do an image search and you can see their shit-stained asshole in the shower for free. Because they can't afford to bleach it because times are tough and you're not even making $150 a month. And, but women do have this idea that what's the value, that it's them. It's like just that they're a woman and they don't have to do anything. Yeah, that was good enough for men. You didn't even have to have a job. You just had to be someone they could trust that wouldn't cheat on them. And that was enough for a man. But a woman are like, he has to have all these things. Then they propagandized that all the guys have to be sick. And it didn't take to all the women. A lot of women don't care about this stuff, and I know that. And they're probably the women in your life and the women in my life. And they're like, what is the size thing? Like, how tall is somebody? They don't know what 6'5" is. Women don't know. They just say, he's got to be 6'5", blah, blah, blah. And he's got like all my 7 kids and all the things that they make fun of on like whatever podcast, or when they have these panels of women who are just advertising for their pornography, stay at home, masturbate, digital harlotry. And, I think the average height worldwide of a guy is like 5'7" or 5'8", something like that. And then women are like 5 foot, whatever, just like a couple inches under that, right? But women are like, no, you know what I mean? Like, he has to have all these things, and then everybody knows the numbers now. That's like only 20% of the men make over $200,000 a year, and now you know, everything's worse now than it was before, and now people are just like, would like to have have somebody. And I think that that's more possible as it gets harder. Like, it is gonna make people pair up. And you know, if you have a bunch of people paired up that have nothing, and that's a whole country of people like that, which I do believe, you know, like, I am an advocate for love. I would dare say I champion the idea of love between, you know, people staying together, and even the LGBT crowd and all the horrible abuse and all these things that I joked about before. People still want to pair up, and you know, like, it's easier to survive when you have somebody with you that you can trust. And the thing that you don't do to mess it up is to look, oh, I can do better, and I'm just going to cheat or do this stuff. I mean, I know cheating is nothing new. It's part of all of history. But if you actually build something with someone, it's not so easy just to throw it away if you value it. But the problem is that men and women both were propagandized to that men don't have value, and that, you know, a woman doesn't need a man, or that she could find one, or she got banged out by a hot guy on a dating app once or twice, so now that's her new standard. Well, I got this guy that one night, which was an off night for hot guy, but to her it's like her new standard of the kind of guy that it's her new gold standard. Well, I got that guy that one time, so I'm not gonna get it. I didn't get him. He just banged me one night and he's gone forever. But I got that guy, so I want another guy like that, and that's the one I'll hold out for. And you know, guys do stupid stuff like the simping and being a beta male orbiter, and all that stuff's true too, like hoping that he will be the one that gets Mary. And you remember see Something About Mary? Something About Mary, it was a movie from the late 1990s where Cameron Diaz was hot girl, and she had all these beta male orbiter guys around her, and they were all in love with her, and she's even dating football player Brett Favre, and in the end she winds up with Ben Stiller. So I guess it's a guy's fantasy, but it was also like a raunchy comedy. It kind of kicked off all those dirty early 2000s comedies, and American Pie stuff wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Something About Mary. But the point of bringing Something About Mary into this is that the idea of one girl with a bunch of guys and she can't pick any of them is not a new thing. Dolly Parton, I know everybody still loves Dolly Parton, in the 80s when she was a big star and her songs were on the radio because people listened to radio before satellite radio. She had this song, "You Better Keep Your Hands Off My Potential New Boyfriend." So it was a song where there was a video for it. You can go look up Dolly Parton's Potential New Boyfriend. It was the idea that she had a guy that was like, "Oh, I don't want him for a boyfriend, but you better stay away from him because I might want to date that guy. So don't even, like she was just keeping a beta male orbiter guy around." That's what they call it now. But Dolly Parton had the song about it in the 1980s. And she also had the song called Jolene, where she said, "Just stay away from my man. Like, I know that you flirt with everybody. Can't you just stay away from my boyfriend?" Which is a problem till today. So it's nothing new, okay? Why do I bring Dolly Parton into it? Because she's still around. The living house of wax. Does she even sing anymore? She's got a theme park. Anyway, I know that the younger set, I remember going into the pharmacy and they had Dolly Parton singing birthday cards. And merch. I went to the Waldens like a year or two ago and they had like all this Dolly Parton merch. I'm like, oh, I guess Dolly Parton's back into popular culture again or whatever. Is that about feminism too? She's a strong, independent woman. It's like, look at Dolly Parton. She has a theme park named after her. Dollywood. Yeah, and she was a 5'0" woman with huge jugs that had an amazing singing voice and a blonde, if I'm not mistaken. And now she looks like a plastic surgery nightmare, and she did that for you so that you would like her. And she had, so probably they exploited Dolly Parton so that you would think so that women would think they could have a theme park. I don't know what the hell, why I said that. But anyway, but I do think like maybe it doesn't look so good for the world, and people are like, yeah, you're making jokes about people getting together, but it's like hard for, especially for the younger generation. They're like, there's no prospects, everybody's being threatened by AI, and it is canceling like thousands of jobs in different places. But when there's nothing left, we have each other, and when all we have is each other and people pair up, then everybody's voice gets louder because you have a nation of people that can, we're being divided and conquered. I talked about part of the strategy for doing that. It was this crimson wave feminism stuff, because the feminism comes in waves, and this is a bloody mess, right? And but when there's nothing left, we have each other, and that's when the voice of a nation can get strong. Hey, this is unacceptable. So probably be on the lookout. They're probably going to try and make a horrible war to send the men away so that they can just manipulate the women and sterilize them, or tell the women, no, it's time for you guys to go to war too, or bring an army of a horde of horribly repressed people from another place that will go in and go crazy when they see all the women and the freedom and think that they can rape them and everything. And I'm looking at you, Sweden, and all this horrible shit that happened all over the world. And it's just sad because people were made to pair up, and it's supposed to be one-on-one. You're supposed to be able to meet somebody and build a lifetime with them, but as it stands, it'd be better just to get over it, and how much of your life you have left over, to realize that we were propagandized too, and that we got programmed through social media and all the movies, and everybody hated the movies. The men were being shit on, and they made everything for women and LGBTQ, and women and LGBTQ people still hate the movies. They're like, yeah, it's shit. The thing that's missing is love, and it's being taken out of movies, and the idea that people would pair up or trust each other has been ruined and destroyed. And you can blame Disney and BlackRock and all the elite, wealthy elite, top 1% globalist cabal or whatever. Yes, it's true. The richest people in the world have bought and sold our leaders, and it's been like that for probably since the beginning of America, from the first president of George Washington. It's been corrupt. But we just didn't have the tools for programming back then like they have now, which is watching stuff on your phone, or to beyond watching stuff on your phone. It's like, okay, it's a phone, you can talk to people, but it's more really the internet. The internet was the programming tool that was used to destroy our lives, and the strategy was the only one that's ever been needed from the first with Adam and Eve. Divide and conquer. So we had everything, and then it was taken away. It was propagandized to be taken away from us. Each other was the thing that we were propagandized. Divide and conquer. You see what I mean? Like, they split us apart. Sorry, I'm stumbling. I mean, I don't know how much more I need to say. I just wanted to talk about it because this is a positive episode, not HIV positive, but it's like a good thing, like the good kind of positive. Okay, it's harder and that sucks, but also maybe you know, maybe love will come into your life if you don't have it already, or maybe it will be better, because that's, you know, if people are divided and conquered and you take everything away and it pushes men and pushes men and women back together, then that also makes it possible for the voice of the people, because the nation is people. But if you have people that are willing to die for each other because they love each other, well, maybe they will have to, but maybe they will kill us. I guess that's not, I said this is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's called the come down of being able to talk to each other and seeing all the videos, even the ones you disagree with, where they're like, yeah, they're just trashing men and the women are mean, and they can say that the men are trashing the women, and, you know, men and women are giving it to each other. They have been for years in terms of trashing each other. But we've also seen both sides of it. If we went out and made, like, you know, a mean-spirited post, or did, like I did, red flag women videos and all these things, and women did red flag men videos, and, you know, you have just people dumping on each other, and then if you watch whatever news you like, then they just keep saying men are bad and toxic, and women, everything raw women, and women are like, yeah, but we don't want to do it all. Yeah, because men are supposed to lead from the first. They want it to be like the Garden of Eden, where Adam showed Eve around. Now we all know everything because the internet gave us all the stuff that we needed to know. Now maybe we can heal. Do you understand? Like, we know both sides of it. We know how horrible, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not expecting, like, most people don't watch my videos, obviously, clearly. But I'm saying, like, the information's out there. There's too many TikTok compilations where the women say that they know that they were wrong, and they make sure that they're crying first, and they have the makeup on that makes sure that it runs. They don't want to wear the makeup that doesn't run. So they make sure to put the makeup on and they cry. And there probably are real apologies, but also it's kind of like an advertisement for the next guy. That's a woman. Don't you want one still? Like, maybe you don't want that woman. But I'm just saying, the women are apologizing. That's not a new thing. I made videos over the last couple years where I said, do you believe that women are apologizing? They're making TikToks to apologize. Sure, it's a commercial for the next guy, but it's like they know what they did is wrong, and there's a video. So, you know, if they try and do that shit again, they're not going to get away with it. The video's in a compilation of TikToks. They were talked about on Manosphere because they were beautiful, right? Because really only Manosphere goes after, he's like, I'm going to spend my days looking for hot chicks and then show you how horrible they are. Yeah, we know beautiful women are terrible. There's plenty of other women out there too. Go find a nice girl that works at TJ Maxx or something. Is that even a store anymore? Or is it just Target and Walmart? Are those the options now for places to work? So most people aren't girl bosses. They never tried to be. Most guys aren't, 6'5", making however much 200K a year or whatever. That's, most people are just don't have a lot, but we've still been propagandized too. And you know as well as I do that, I mean, I'm old, but even from my time, my dating, like when I was in high school, I was doing some pretty nasty stuff, and it was always her idea. Like the woman has to agree to this stuff. I mean, I wasn't the guy that was handsome enough to just like push, like, hey, you should do this, and the girl like, sure, I'll do whatever you say. No, I had a girlfriend and she was like, watch this, and she wanted to do all, and she's like, maybe let's try this and let's try that. So women like sex and they can be nasty, and that was before the internet. And now we have the internet, so they got all kinds of other crazy ideas. But, you know, like, I guess what I'm saying is when I was a young guy, I didn't know that women like sex too, and they do. And just like everything else, they got into a lot of trouble with it, like the Garden of Eden. The guy's doing his own thing, he'll be okay. But the women just doing their own thing without a man kind of isn't okay, and they need each other. And there's an order of things. That's why the husband's the head of his wife. The women want the man to lead. And you've seen this maybe, because I've seen it in like compilations of videos, maybe it's TikToks, or maybe it was even videos before TikToks, where the women are like, you know what, I'm sick of all this shit. I don't want to be a strong, independent woman. I don't want to have to think about all this stuff. And, you know, some of them will even say in a relationship that they had before they blew it to be a strong, independent woman, it was nice to have a guy to take half of the things. You know, like women had their things you know, everybody, men and women bring something to the relationship for each other because that's the way that God intended it to be. We're literally made for each other. It's how we get here. I don't know why I'm yelling at you. You know all this shit already. You just like hearing it. That's why you're still watching this. We need positive affirmations that are actually practical. And although the world kind of sucks, in terms of like we remember how it used to be, and it was like easier and nicer, and you could like goof around more, and now it's serious and it's hard to get by. And I'm, you know what I mean, like I'm not special, so this is the way it is for a lot of people. But it's also kind of pushing men and women back to each other, and it's making all the people, you know, it's like we have another opportunity to get back together, and when people find each other, then they're gonna be willing to complain. You know what I mean? It helps people get on the same page. You know, if you have propaganda making people think the same way, and it's to divide them, then they get divided. But if you have propaganda where people are talking to each other about how they're coming down from being propagandized to be divided and conquered, well, then that, you know what I mean? Like it's like a different wave. You have a wave coming in to crash and divide everybody, but what's possible is a wave of people getting together, even though they don't have a lot of money because everything's being taken away from us, and they're telling us we won't own anything and that we will eat some bugs, and you don't own your own games and all this shit that they're trying to do to us. Just because they planned all this stuff for a long time doesn't mean that it's gonna work. Sometimes the best laid plans are doomed to fail. And if the plans are evil and against God, do you think that he doesn't hear our prayers? How many people out there praying for a mate? Please, Lord, you know all the chicks. Set me up with someone. You know who's exactly perfect for me that would, you know, not cheat, not stray. And then women doing the same thing. Please set me up with the right man. 200K, 6'5", whatever bullshit. But you see what I'm saying? Like, people were made for each other. And when you take away all the other stuff, all we're left with is each other. And that leaves the possibility for the voice of a people, and the people is the nation, and this is happening all over the world. So it leaves that collective voice of the people to say, you know what? We found each other, and there's a power in that. There's a power in men and women. You know what I mean? That's why they want to keep men and women apart. There's a power between, you know, trying to give people what they don't want when they realize what's been taken away from them and what they lost. And I think that people will be more willing to fight for love if they went through the 20s and 30s and realized that they were tricked and they were fooled, and everybody told them so on the social media platforms, and now they're like, you know, I've seen enough videos and I realized that I was wrong. Whether it's the men or the women. So the guys are being MGTOW or incels or WGTOW or femcells. It's just sour grapes because you had your hearts broken. So it's the come down. You know, like there's only so much copium somebody can take before they become a copium addict, and at some point they have to go to rehab. And I think, you know, the only way out of this is like sometimes you just, you know, you hit the wall, not just for women hitting the wall, but we can use that analogy for what I'm going to say next. We hit the wall and then there's nothing to do but admit that we were wrong and heal and see what we can make out of our lives without quintupling down, just blaming somebody else. At some point it doesn't work anymore to blame somebody else when you see everybody's videos and comments letting you know that, hey, that was your fault. You can't just keep blaming everybody else. I mean, like, if you can propagandize to somebody to break them down, to say you don't need men, or men and women don't need each other, you can also propagandize to somebody to say, hey, you were wrong. And at some point it's going to take. And if that's the truth, maybe people desperately don't want the truth. That's why they double down on stuff. But at some point it breaks them. Just like how they tried to break down society and separate us from one another. Having social media platforms, you can't hide from the truth that you're wrong. And I don't even know you. But, you know, I'm talking about women mostly. But men too. But the thing is that, you know, men, I just think about the younger generation, how much abuse, like a lot of this shit rolled off my back. And I was like, this sucks, but it's bullshit. But think about how a lot of this stuff did affect young men. And they wanted a woman, so they thought they had to be some kind of pussy coward beta male guy and just, whatever you want, babe. I don't think that you should, but if you want to, it's whatever you want to do, and all that kind of thinking. And they suffered for it. And then there was always guys telling them that that was wrong. And now the women saw those guys' videos too, or the women saw videos of other women that explained to, you know, the way the women were explaining to each other through videos why you're miserable. Yeah, because you're a bitch and you think you don't need a man, and now it's hard, now you don't have one, and what's missing? And you're like, the man. Yeah, but the men knew that from the first. What's missing? The woman. But they're like, I can't trust these bitches. They're right. But when it gets hard for everybody, there's an opportunity to create a new voice for the people of whatever nation you're watching this from, which is probably like America. I don't know if I'm allowed to be seen in Canada. I know there's some UK people. But other side of the pond. But it's a positive thing I'm saying. Like, I'm seeing the come down. We've seen enough years of content where people are explaining what's wrong and people are being harassed for being impossible bitches. And I mean men and women both. And they're like, yeah, they fooled us. So all we're left with is each other, and then that can make the voice of a nation stronger because you realize what's been done and you have nothing left to lose but to fight against it. I mean, when they tell it, when some asshole says you will eat the bugs, doesn't mean he's going to get his way. It's only if you fear it. You know, when Larry Fink says, in the future you'll own nothing and you'll love it, that pisses people off. Look at how they love their stupid video games, and you know I hate video games. But they're making a petition. Did they get their 1 million signatures or whatever they need so that when you buy something, they can't just take it away from you whenever you want? Hey, I bought the thing, it's mine now. You can't take my game away after I bought it. Just because a couple video game bozos or sellouts and said, hey, you guys got to get used to not owning your games and we work for the company. No. Bullshit. Even though the games are bullshit and you shouldn't play them. Maybe just think about a world without video games. Think about a world without people doom scrolling. We know something's been done to our brains, and even if you can't stop watching the videos, there's even a come down from that. People are having to come down from saying, like, I have to stop scrolling. Like, I've seen TikTok compilations of that too, and the other videos that people make about social media addiction. It's not just gaming addiction. There's all these addictions. There's come downs. There's the no fap, which comes from fapping too much. There's the gooning and edging and the come down. No gooning. Stop gooning. I saw hats that said stop gooning. So, you know, like, we're being propagandized to endlessly through social media, but also, you know, we're propagandizing to each other because people want to know what's wrong and they want to know what's truth. Even if they say that they don't, you can only be lied to so many times where people just tell you what you want to hear. But when that's not working out in your life, you want really what's true. And when you hear it, after a while, if you've had your ass handed to you enough times, you can't deny it anymore. And our social engineers know that, so they're probably trying to plan some pretty nasty shit, because when they realize they can't get their way, they'll want to retaliate. So you can pray against that. You can take it to God and say, God, please, don't let them retaliate, because their plans aren't working the way that they want them to. They have checkpoints that they want done by Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030, stuff they want done by 2050. And I think that they're not getting things done on the timeline that they want. And that's a good thing, even if you don't know what I'm talking about. Who's they? The wealthy elite whose fortunes shape the fates of nations, who come up with stuff like Plandopolis megacities and Agenda 21, the people who paid for the development of geoengineering that they use as a diversionary tactic, like we're in the UK where they say, we're going to take away the sun because the sun's too harmful. That's Mr. Burns from the Simpsons movie. That's just the evil plan. But if I'm telling you about it and everybody else can talk about it, you can go watch the video for the NASA cloud machine. Well, just because we have the technology doesn't mean that everything can be used against us just because they say so. So men and women were made for each other, and we all have our voices divided and conquered on social media should we choose to use them. But when people start pairing up and say all the same things, and that makes the voice of any nation stronger if they're all agreeing on the same things. Hey, they're taking everything else, they're taking everything away from us, and we don't love it. See if they can take us away from each other. That's the last straw. Then they're just going to have to wipe everything out and start over again. I don't think it's going to work. I don't want to hear about the Great Reset and all that stuff. No, it's not going to work. We already had Jesus's 1,000-year millennial reign, if I can bring that into this episode as I close it up. We're headed into different times now. A lot of things on the earth have been settled already. We're the people of Revelation 20, if we're any people in the Bible at all. Okay? So what we're set up for is the battle of Gog-Magog. So when that is, you or I don't know. Do you want to just give up on your life and wait for the end of the world? Bullshit. You want to live it. And it'd be much better to live it with somebody and try and build a life with somebody than it is to go it alone and just complain about how you can't trust anybody. People say they don't trust each other, and they'll make the video about, well, here's me trying to find a man again, and I just don't trust men, and I won't give them a chance. But if you find somebody that you'll like, you'll give them another chance. Men and women are both like this. You know what? I hate women. You know what? I can't trust. I can't trust men. I can't trust women. Whoever's saying it, whether it's men or women. If you find somebody you like, or you think that they like you, usually they give it another shot. It doesn't mean they don't mess it up again for the umpteenth time. But maybe that kind of thing is changing now, because we've told each other too much, and now we know everything, so there's nowhere to hide from it. Everybody gives us shit in comments. So I don't want to keep talking in circles about this. But you see what I mean? Like, maybe you've thought of some things. I'm trying to pull as much stuff into this as I possibly could to give you some optimism about the idea. And maybe you have somebody that you love or whatever, but a lot of people don't. And it seems to be a big trick they played on the divide and conquer to keep people so that they don't pair up, so they can't build anything. It's harder to get by on your own, whether you're a man or a woman, or whether they opened all the things to make it easier for women to have achievements in jobs that they're erasing for all of us because AI or whatever. Is AI really what they say it is, or are they just taking people like, oh, we can't get Elon stuff. I can't get slaves from China and we can't get people from China and pay them nothing. Let's get people from India and pay them nothing. India and China are the two most densely populated places on the world, all right? And India still has a caste system, and you know how hard it is for Chinese people. So Elon's like, well, you know what? I gotta get people from India because I can't get them from China anymore. I want to pay people from India shit. So, and it's taking away jobs from, you know, whatever, the outsourcing and all this stuff you want to bring into it. But obviously telling us that in the future you'll own nothing and love it is bullshit lie. And it's also a fear tactic, and it's not even working because most people don't even know who the hell Larry Fink is, and they don't want to listen to him anyway because they don't watch any videos. That's the kind of stuff that you're coming to my channel to watch. But anyway, I would say it's like I'm seeing a glimmer of optimism in a world that seems to be in chaos. But that's the whole point. We're being propagandized to that it's hopeless, hapless, and heedless. So give up. I'm saying don't give up. Certainly don't give up on love. I champion it. So maybe you want to check out the playlist I have on this channel, things about women and the problems and what's happened and stuff. And you know, because I have more. It used to be my most full playlist on my channel before I wiped out all my videos and started over again. I had so many videos talking about the women thing because they have the wombs, and that's how we get here. So if you can mess up, if you want to mess up a person in their development, you divide the family and you take the family apart. Aleister Crowley had a poem about this, and he was the asshole that wanted to be best friends with the devil. And the poem was called The Family, Enemy Number One. Because he was evil and he thought it was cool to be a bad guy, which is stupid. And he lost in the end, and he regretted it before he died, and he said so. Because the devil hates you. Even if you don't believe in the devil, just the symbol of what the devil represents is not a misunderstood character. He's the guy that was jealous of man's inheritance, so he wanted to wreck it so that man would not have anything, and that everything that was his would be taken away so that he could wreck it. Because he got his ass kicked out of heaven because he thought he could take on the old man, and he lost. So now he uses our training tool. So, you know, the devil's a bad guy and a bozo, whether you believe in him or not. And that's how they divide and conquer, is they destroy families. Like, if you want to control a person, don't give them an example of who to be. What's a family? It's a mom and a dad and children and, you know, grandparents. So if you separate a person and divide them from all these things, then they don't have an example of who to be. That's a man or a woman when they're a little boy or a little girl. And they don't have an example of who to find, which would be a man or a woman. And those examples are supposed to be their parents. And the parents are supposed to get help from the grandparents. And then, you know, the cycle continues. It's a family. So if you want to conquer people and make them into isolated bio-units, Brzezinski robotoids, then you destroy the family. And we can see all the videos and probably even Netflix stuff that talks about how families are destroyed, how they bring drugs into the neighborhood, get people messed up on drugs. The 60s counterculture revolution. What was the culture? It was families. So the 1960s counterculture was to go against families. That's the shortest way I can explain the 1960s counterculture revolution. What came along with that? Drugs, LSD, acid, and all the drugs that they came out with in the 60s. Then what did they come out with a later time? Cocaine. Well, cocaine's not new. They had that back in World War II. Crack, meth, fentanyl. It's all about destroying people. And yeah, when they talk about the 60s counterculture revolution, it was don't trust anybody over 30 came with that. Yeah, it was just about you not building anything so that you would do whatever they told you because you weren't able to establish yourself in life. Now look at what they've done to the young men. What are they going to build? So they want to stay in and play video games, which is by design. That's not everybody, but this is what they're telling us about the young people, that they're no good and they're useless, and the women are digital harlots and they're all whores, and the guys are all gooning to them and playing video games, but they hate them. And it's bullshit. They just made it harder for everybody to get by design. So, and they've been hammering the younger generation for years. Like, if you're old, you just take it in stride and you say it's bullshit and you know it's propaganda. But if you're young and you don't know that things are propaganda and you haven't found out by watching videos about it, but they're out there. Like, it's easy to find what's been done to us. You can just find the videos on it. But it's another thing. It just takes its toll mentally when they just keep hammering somebody who's young, whether it's the young men or the young women. They're hammering them about how they're supposed to behave and their sensibilities and what's to be expected of them or what's not supposed to be expected of them, even though it's things that are supposed to be expected of us. It's demoralizing, it's diminishing, and that's the point. It's just to make people crippled and unable to act and then you stay online, and then you use those two popular words that people use all the time: dopamine, cortisol, dopamine, cortisol. Even if people don't know how to define those words, what it means is you get scared, so then you find something online that you like. You go into a hypnagogic trance when you watch the old TV with the picture tube. Now you go into another kind of trance that I forget what the name of it is. When you watch, that's why people doom scroll. Like, they're literally being hypnotized in a measurable way that there's a term for it, but I can only remember the term for television with the picture tube and the cathode tube and all that stuff. They have brain scans. You can see the brain scans. What are people doing when they're spending their time online? Here's what a gamer's brain looks like. Here's what a porn addict's brain looks like. Here's what a porn addict gamer brain looks like. Here's what a drug abuser's brain looks like. And then they go through all the different drugs, and it shows you it's all brain damage. Like, all of it's brain damage. It doesn't matter what thing I tell you that people do online that they do too much. All of it equals brain damage. So that's why people are they have to come down from social media, and they announce on social media, hey, I know I make videos and stuff, I make my TikToks or whatever, I'm taking a month off of social media, and then I'm coming back, and I'll tell you what it was like to go without it for a month. And I hope what happens is they come back in a month and say, you know what, I'm going to stay off, I'm going to keep staying away. So when they say that they're not making it, does it mean that they're not watching it? I should hope so. But anyway, the point is, there is a silver lining in all this. And it's that, we quite literally were made for each other, and when a lot of stuff is taken away from us, all we have is each other. And when you have each other, then there's something worth fighting for. And if you take everything away from a nation, it comes to the point where the people cry out against the evil that's being done to them, because we come to realize that a nation is just its people, and what really matters is each other, and that's all that we have. Except for the phone, because one of the things you get on welfare is, they say, because I saw the flyers in Walmart in the parking lot, they're putting flyers for welfare. Hey, are you on welfare? Maybe you want to get on welfare, and if you do, we'll give every member of your family at the right age range or whatever, we'll give everybody member of your family a phone. Yeah, because it's a programming tool. When you watch programming, you get programmed. And from its inception, television was called television programming, because they knew that they were programming you how to think. And now look at how they program us how to think. They don't call them celebrities anymore. They call them online influencers, because these people who are promoted by YouTube or whatever social media platform, they're having an influence over your life. And what do the kids want to be when they grow up? They want to be an influencer. I want people to do the things that I tell them to do, and all the ideas of who they want to be and what they want to do is being given incestuously by other influencers, the ones they like. And look at how lost the men are. They were influenced. Andrew Tate, what's his claim to fame? He was a pimp, and he told you how to find digital harlots and create a stable of prostitutes, and how to abuse women. And he talked in this really unusual way, and all the things that he did. And that's all that he is. He's just a digital pimp. And that's lost. And now, a lot of those guys that liked him are like, yeah, he's kind of a scumbag, because they saw enough other people's videos to see that he was a scumbag. Kids grew up with Logan Paul and found out that he was an asshole, and now they don't like him anymore. Lucky for him, he has all the money. He doesn't have to do anything. But he's hated. So there you go, you have all the money. But now all the people that grew up with you hate you, and nobody new is going to want to watch you because you're too old. And we're told not to trust anybody over 30, going back to the 1960s counterculture revolution. Do you see how all this works together? So gaming and gooning and gas station vapes and weed and all this stuff, it's all just to distract us and to mess up our lives. And there's plenty of videos on that. Hey, I quit vaping and I got my life back. I quit doing this. Drinking. I used to drink too much. I used to smoke too much weed. I know about THCA and all this stuff. Yeah, it's like a time waster. But it's what you do when people are depressed and bummed out. You get drunk, you get high, and you feel a little bit better. But a lot of people don't even need that. They just get the they get the dopamine cortisol thing back and forth just from doing this, watching videos, or doing this and doing this, or flicking beans, or whatever you have, whatever parts you have, putting a thumb up your butt, and again, watching the phone, or watching a monitor. So yeah, I mean, I would say that I hope that this has come across to you as an optimistic video in the midst of all the crazy things happening in the world that are there to amuse and divert and distract us. It's called entertainment. Entertainment by definition means to amuse or divert, to tenere, to hold, or to distract. Entertainment's a distraction from what? Well, apparently from each other. But we also have the internet, so it helps people meet each other and hook up. So all these evil things, all this stuff that you want to call like all the tools of the dark forces that were used against us, are also the same very tools that we can use against them and to set things right with each other and ourselves. I mean, look at this video. You've stayed around this long. I hope you got something good out of it. And if you have somebody, I hope you guys stay together and work it out. I hope it's not, you don't have a nightmare mate. And if you don't have somebody, well then bless you, and I hope you find somebody perfect for you. I'm an advocate of saying, God, you know all the women, set me up with somebody. You know who's right for me. And you know who I'd be good for, because you know all the guys too. So you know what I mean, whether you're a man or woman watching this. I know it's probably mostly dudes, but whoever it is that's watching this, yeah, why don't you ask him to hook you up? God's got the hookup, right? He does. Like, he knows everybody. Like, so just, keep praying, be persistent, be consistent. And, maybe, that still small voice of God's, you don't know you're hearing it. Maybe say like, hey, maybe do this. Maybe, the Jordan Peterson stuff before he went crazy. Clean up your room, and maybe you should, before you go complaining about everybody else, maybe you should maybe you should check yourself before you wreck yourself. Didn't Ice Cube have a song about that? There you go. The wisdom of hip hop. The LGBT crowd, because hip-hop is gay. So, pray to God, ask for help, and check yourself before you wreck yourself. And, it's planet daddy issue down here. It doesn't matter whether we're men or women or how we identify. We all have the same issue, setting ourselves right with God. So that's why I always say, call your father, and don't be down on love, and champion love, and, call your father. Amen.